Transfers are a huge part of modern football, but some players don't know what it's like to change teams. Here are the greatest one-club players of all time. Francesco Totti. Known as the eighth king of Rome, Francesco Totti stayed loyal to his boyhood club throughout his 24-year career. The attacker made his debut for Roma in 1993 and pulled on the shirt for the last time in 2017. In total, he racked up 786 appearances and scored 307 goals for the Giallorossi. Totti only ever won one Serie A title, and he never got his hands on a European trophy. That was because of his commitment to Roma. At his peak, Totti could have played for any club in the world. He almost joined Real Madrid in 2004, but decided it'd be too painful to say goodbye to the club of his heart. No matter who plays for Roma in the future, there'll never be another Francesco Totti. Ryan Giggs. The class of '92 were one of the most talented youth teams in football history. Ryan Giggs, Paul Scholes, David Beckham, Gary Neville, Phil Neville and Nicky Butt all went on to become first-team regulars at Manchester United. Giggs was the first one to make his debut and the last one to retire. The Welshman played 963 games for United in a remarkable career. He started out as a speedy, tricky winger and later became a thoughtful, probing midfielder. Giggs could have left the club in the early 2000s. Juventus and Inter both wanted him, but in the end, he decided to stay at United. By the time he retired in 2014, Giggs had won 13 Premier League titles with one club. It's hard to see anyone ever beating that record. Paolo Maldini. At the start of his career, Paolo Maldini was mainly known as being the son of Cesare, a former AC Milan defender and Italy international. Maldini Sr. played over 400 times for Milan, but he was overtaken by his extraordinary son. Between 1985 and 2009, Paolo featured in 902 games for the club. Maldini was a model of consistency throughout his career. Whether playing at left-back, right-back or centre-back, he barely put a foot wrong during his 24 seasons in the first team. Maldini won 7 Serie A titles and 5 Champions Leagues at the San Siro. He never came close to leaving Milan and currently works as the club's technical director. The Maldini dynasty isn't over yet though. Paolo San and Cesare's grandson Daniel Maldini made his debut in 2020. Franco Berezi. One of the greatest centre-backs the world has ever seen, Franco Berezi also spent his entire career at AC Milan. He played alongside Paolo Maldini for a while. Opposition strikers certainly didn't enjoy coming up against the Rossoneri of that era. Berezi's first appearance for Milan came in 1978. He was still going strong almost 2 decades later, before finally hanging up his boots in 1997. By that time, he'd won virtually everything there was to win at club level, including 6 Serie A titles and 3 Champions Leagues. It's impossible to think of Milan in the Arrigo Sacchi era without thinking of Berezi. He was the team's captain and leader, and is one of the biggest Milan icons there's ever been. Tony Adams. Known as Mr. Arsenal by Gunners fans, Tony Adams played for the club in 3 different decades. The centre-back joined the youth team in 1980 and made his senior debut 3 years later, aged just 17. By the time he was 21, Adams was a regular starter and the club captain. The defender won his first league title in the most dramatic of circumstances in 1989, as Arsenal beat Liverpool 2-0 on the final day. That was one of 4 championships he won during his career, including 2 under Arsene Wenger in '98 and 2002. It's difficult to imagine Adams wearing a shirt other than Arsenal's, but he could have joined Man United in the mid-90s. Alex Ferguson came in for me, but I wouldn't leave, he said. Carlos Puyol. Sometimes Carlos Puyol looked a little out of place in Pep Guardiola's team of tiki-taka titans, but without the rugged defender's passion, grit and determination, Barcelona wouldn't have been as successful as they were. Puyol is an undisputed Barcelona legend, but he almost left the club before he'd even made his debut. Malaga had an offer for him accepted in 1998, but Puyol rejected the move after a former teammate at youth level was promoted to the first team. That teammate was Xavi Hernandez. Puyol played almost 600 games for Barca. He was a 6-time La Liga champion and a 3-time Champions League winner. Unlike Xavi, Iniesta and Lionel Messi, Puyol didn't join another club late in his career. When his contract expired in 2014, the Barcelona captain simply walked off into the sunset. Jamie Carragher. Jamie Carragher was actually an Everton fan as a kid. He even wore an Everton kit to his Liverpool trial. Carragher's loyalties lie in the red half of the city these days, though. That's only natural considering he spent his entire 17-year career at Anfield, where he won almost everything apart from the Premier League. The tough-tackling defender played 737 times for Liverpool. He was often overshadowed by Steven Gerrard, another local lad who inspired the club to glory on a regular basis. Now, Gerrard might be the bigger club legend, but his short spell at LA Galaxy means we can't consider him as a one-club man. When it comes to those, Jamie Carragher is Liverpool's number one. Matt Le Tissier. Matt Le Tissier is one of the most naturally gifted players the Premier League has ever seen. He did some incredible things on a football pitch and scored some sensational goals throughout his career. When you consider how talented he was, it's hard to believe that Le Tissier spent his whole career with Southampton. Le God, as he was nicknamed by Saints fans, was often battling relegation or floating around mid-table. Tottenham, Chelsea, Blackburn and Manchester United all wanted him, but Le Tissier knew the grass wouldn't necessarily be greener. He was happy to stay as a big fish in a small pond, even if it meant he never won silverware. The attacking midfielder scored 209 goals in 540 matches for Southampton, and he never regretted spending his whole career on the south coast. I felt like I owed Southampton something because I was just a little kid from Guernsey, and they took a chance on me and gave me my chance to be a professional footballer, he said in 2018. Giuseppe Bergami. AC Milan have Paolo Maldini and Franco Berezi. Their arch-rivals Inter have Giuseppe Bergami. The defender began training with the club's first team as a 17-year-old and made his professional debut in 1980. That was the first of 754 appearances for Inter over the next 2 decades. Bergami won the Serie A title, the Coppa Italia, and 3 UEFA Cups with Inter. But for much of his career, the Nerazzurri were in the shadow of Milan. That must have been painful for a die-hard Interista like Bergami, but the defender refused to leave. His blood was black and blue, in good times and in bad. Billy McNeill. Celtic did something extraordinary in 1967. They weren't just the first British team to win the European Cup, but the first from Northern Europe too. And they did it with a team who were all born within 30 miles of Celtic Park. Billy McNeill was the captain of the side. The victory over Inter in the final was the highlight of a glittering career, which also brought McNeill 9 league titles and 7 Scottish Cups. The defender made a club record 822 appearances for Celtic. Incredibly, he was never substituted. McNeill went on to manage the Hoops, guiding them to 4 league titles across 2 spells in charge. He's honoured with a statue outside Celtic Park, his spiritual home. Okay, time for some honourable mentions. Jack Charlton. No player in the history of Leeds United has played more games for the club than Jackie Charlton. The World Cup winner spent his entire career at Ellen Road, pulling on the famous white shirt 762 times. A no-nonsense defender, Charlton helped Leeds United win the First Division title in 1969 and the FA Cup in 72. Charlton's contribution to the game and Leeds United will never be forgotten. Read a club statement when he passed away in 2020. He will remain in football folklore forever. Rogerio Ceni. Rogerio Ceni scored 131 goals for Sao Paulo. Now, that'd be a decent record for many strikers, but it's phenomenal for a goalkeeper. In fact, he's the highest scoring keeper in football history. Ceni played an astonishing 1,237 matches for Sao Paulo. The Brazilian won 3 league titles and 2 Copa Libertadores with his only professional club. Oh, I bet you can't guess where he's currently the manager. Sao Paulo. Paul Scholes. When they were in Manchester United's youth team, Gary Neville thought Paul Scholes would never make it. He was small, so slight, he didn't have great energy, he had no strength, he had asthma, he couldn't really run very far, he wasn't quick, he never beat you for pace. Over 700 appearances and 20 major trophies later, it's fair to say Scholes proved Neville wrong. The midfielder spent his entire career at Old Trafford. He even came out of retirement in 2012 to help the club out. Even at the age of 38, Scholes was still one of the best players at the club.